Hi everyone. So today's agenda is learning how to navigate to a record creation page. So let's say there are two objects. One is parent, other is child. Now from parent, you always have a related list for the child. And from there, you have a new button to always create a record. But just assume that you do not have that. You do not have the related list and you still want to create a custom button that would navigate to that child object's record creation page. Now, there are two ways that we are going to learn here to do so. The first one is using lightning navigation and aura lightning, and the other one is using a detail page button. Now, along with the motto that we have here, we are going to address certain issues here. First one is, now let's say I have two objects in my org. One is summer camp, other is student. Summer camp is a parent and student is a child. Student is looking up to summer camp. Now let's say I am creating a new button on summer camp to create a new student. The first issue that I want to address is when I open the new student page, record creation page, just because it's custom doesn't mean I don't want to populate the summer camp, right? Because that's the parent. So I want to auto populate that. I want to auto populate the parent summer camp into the child student record creation page. That is the first thing. Second thing is I am going to use a console app. So I don't want the student record creation page to be opened as a new tab, but it should open as a sub tab of the summer camp tab. So let's say there is a summer camp SC1. Within that, I'm trying to create a student one. So it should open as a sub tab within SC1 tab and not open as a new tab. And the third one is for my student, I have two record types, domestic and international. Now I do not want, so for my profile, the default record type that is assigned is domestic. So I don't want the system to pick the domestic because that's the default record type and navigate me to the record creation page of a domestic student. I want the system to enforce users selecting the record type. So these are some of the things that we are going to look at. So let's quickly begin. Now this is my org, and like you could see, there is a summer camp object record page first of all, but let's notice that I'm using a console app. Okay. So when I open a summer camp record, so first let me give you an introduction to this. Like I said earlier, summer camp is the parent and sorry, am I recording or not? Okay, yes, I am recording. Okay. Summer camp is the parent and student is the child. So how my console app is set up is whenever I open a summer camp record, it opens like this as a tab. And then when I open a student record, it opens as a sub tab. It does not open as a new tab, right? But this is like standard record that I'm clicking and it is opening. Now let us assume that in the related list, somehow there was a requirement that we do not show the student related list. I know it's not the perfect example, but you could just assume that the student related list didn't exist. And so therefore we didn't have this new button. So we are imagining this does not exist. And now the problem statement is that I need to create a new student and navigate to its standard page. I don't want to use a custom page or something like that. The standard record creation page of student is something that I need to use. Now for that, I've created two buttons. One is a quick action. I've named it that way so it's easier to understand. The other is detail page button. Now let's jump to the first one, the quick action. So let's quickly go to the code. For this quick action, let me go to the summer camp object. I created a new action. I clicked on it. And I created this kind of a quick action. Okay, and I have added a lightning component on it. This is the aura component. The name of it is add new student. Now this is that component. So let's quickly start coding it. Now, how we are going to do this? First of all, because we are going to open this from a lightning quick action, I'm going to implement this. Secondly, because I want to have the parent summer camp's record ID from this quick action, I need to implement force has record ID. Now, let me quickly show you one thing. So what I'm trying to show here is how are we going to implement this? Now, first of all, in order to implement this, we are going to use lightning navigation. So let me first of all open it and show you what is lightning navigation. I'm not going to go in depth. I'm just going to give you a brief. So basically what lightning navigation does for you is it generates a URL for a given page reference. Now page reference is something that we are going to define. And for that page reference, it is just going to go to that. It's going to construct a URL out of that and it's going to redirect to that particular URL. That is what it does. Now, let me go to the documentation and check here. Now, like you could see, how they do it is, first they have var nav service equals component dot find nav service. Now, what is this nav service? They have an attribute defined over here, which is the lightning navigation attribute that we are using. Its aura ID is nav service, so that is what they have used here. The next thing is page reference. Now, page reference is the section where we are indicating where do we want to traverse. Now, there are different types in where do you want to traverse. So we are going to go to a standard object record page, right? So that is why, let me open page reference as well for you. Or let me do one thing. Let me first code everything for you and then I can explain things. So first of all, what are we expecting here is the moment someone clicks on that lightning action, he should be navigated to the standard record creation page of student object. So for that, the moment they come here, I'm going to call the init method and I've defined the init method over here. So let's start writing the code for it. First of all, this is what I'm writing. Now for that nav service, let me add that attribute over here. Added the attribute. Now the next thing is creating a page reference, right? Out of which it is going to build a URL. So let's go here. And let's build a page reference. Now here the type indicates where am I navigating to, where am I supposed to navigate to. So because I want to go to a standard record page of a particular object, I'm going to call out the type as standard object page. Now there are different types. So that is why I opened the page reference here. You could navigate to an app, a external record page, a object page, a record page, a web page, and so on. Here, we are navigating to a standard objects record page. So that's why we call it standard __ object page. Now, what is the API name of that particular object where you want to navigate to? So, like I said, the child object name is student. So I've written the API name of that object. Now the next thing is action. Now there are different actions that you could perform. What action we are going to perform is we are going to open a new record creation page. That is why we say new over here. Now there are different actions. Let me show you some of them as per the document that they have given us. Depending on what kind of a page reference type you are using, that is standard, object page or record page or whatever, you have different action available. Now what we are going to use, these are the different action types, by the way. We are using new. You could also use a view record, view action, I mean, if you just want to view the record. But we are creating a new record. So that's why I've taken the action name as new. State is you want to mention certain other things, extra things, then you could use state for that, which we are coming on it later. Then finally, we'll do a nav service.navigate. And we are going to navigate to this page reference. Now, you notice one thing here. 1 minute. We have used page reference, but the thing is, we also need to declare one more attribute here called page reference. So, because Salesforce tells us to do that, because as per the definition, it is generating a URL using the page reference that it has, right? So when you check the definition of Lightning, documentation of Lightning navigation, you could see that they have used a Aura attribute called page reference. So all I'm doing is just adding that over here. Okay, added. So we have page reference, we have nav service, we have init. Let me go to init. What am I doing? I'm finding the component called nav service, page reference. I am just navigating to the standard record creation page of a particular object called student, and I'm creating a new record. That's why new. And then nav service, which is this one, dot navigate. But navigate where? So that is happening, like it's creating a URL using whatever you have provided in the page reference. So let's quickly refresh this, and I've already added that lightning component in this quick action. So when I click on that, you see now we have a new student record page open, right? But now there are a couple of problems here. The first thing is it opened as a new tab. You remember when I had clicked on a record of student, it was opening as a sub tab of this particular parent tab. But when I clicked on this new quick action, it opened as a new tab. Second issue that I see here is it took the default record type, which is domestic. Now let me show you my profile. Student object has two record type, domestic and international. My default is domestic. So by default, it picked the domestic, and that's what it is showing. And the third problem is I came from this summer camp, right? SC1. So SC1 should have got populated here automatically, right? Which didn't happen. So let's solve the next problem, which is auto-populating the, parent summer camp. Now, how do we do that? Now I had to search a lot about this, and then I found out in the state, there is a attribute called default field values. If I'm not forgot the exact name. Yeah. Okay. Default field values. Okay. And if you want to provide the default field values, you need to use the page reference utils. So let me actually take you to the definition. So as per the uh, documentation that I went through, this is somewhere that I could add the default field values into. Now, what does this statement mean? Page reference dot state dot default field values. So let me go here. We have page reference. Inside that, we have state. Inside that, we have default field values. Okay. Now, I don't exactly know how do you put the default field values here, but the way I searched it and I found it is you could do it somehow this way. You explicitly create a new variable. I will call it as default field values. Inside that curly brace, I'm going to give a key value pair. Key would be the API name of the field in this object that I want to populate, and value is the ID of the record that I want inside this field of this object. So because I have used has record ID, I'm going to get the current summer camp records ID over here. And I am going to populate that in the summer camp field of the student object. Okay, that's what I'm doing over here. Now, how do I assign this default value inside the state? So for that, like we saw in the documentation, is what we are going to write here. This part is something that we saw in the documentation, right? Inside page reference state, inside that there is an attribute called default field values. We are putting something into it. Now, what is that something? Component.find page reference utils. So page reference utils, as you see from the definition, it is used for encoding and decoding default field values. Because I want to, pass the default field values, I am going to use this. Now for this, I need to have an attribute. So I am going to declare an attribute for it. Okay. I don't know where did I find this code from, but anyhow. So yeah, I'm sorry. This is a standard attribute that we are using called lightning page reference utils. And in that, I'm giving a aura ID just like I had used for lightning navigation. Just a second, please. Yeah, it's a standard lightning component that we are using here. I've given it a aura ID. Whatever you give, it's okay. But then that same aura ID you're going to find over here. And within that, there is the property called encode default field values. Using that, you can pass a parameter. Now, this parameter is something that I have built here and I have passed the key value pair like I explained. That is what I did. And then the rest is like nav service.navigate. So it's just navigating to whatever you. So in short, this page reference state default values inside that state, I am populating it using this statement. That's all that I've done. Now let me save and come here. Let me refresh. Now when I click on the new student, you will see that the summer camp is auto-populated. So we solved one of the issues, that is auto-populating the parent. But the other issue, that enforcing the user to choose the record type and opening it as a subtab, is not yet solved. Now, honestly, when I tried searching more on it, I did not find anything on how to do it using this particular way. If you know it, then please let me know in the comment. I will get to learn something new. But I found a different alternate way to open the new record creation page as a subtab, and plus enforcing the user to use the select the record type. Now that is using a a detail page button. So going to the summer camp again, I have created a new detail page button. Okay. The content source is URL, so it will redirect to a URL. Now let me remove this URL and let me go through a URL one by one. Now, first of all, what do we want to go navigate to? Student object, right? So I would say slash lightning slash O. Why am I saying slash O? I'll tell you. Whenever I open a student record, you see lightning R student underscore underscore C and then the ID, right? So that is why I am using that URL and pasting it here. And then we have new, right? So new is the action. Now, let me show you one thing. I'm sorry. When I open a existing record, it is lightning R slash student, right? But if I open a new student creation record page from the standard new button, then the URL is something like this, lightning O like the object name and then slash new, right? So what I've done is I've done the same thing, just using the lightning O student and new. That's it, simple. And just save. Now, let's refresh and let's go to the new student detail page button. So first problem is solved, which is it's not opening as a new tab now. It's opening as a sub tab. So first issue is solved. Secondly, we have achieved the result wherein it's opening a new student record creation page and it's a standard page, right? Now, the second thing, which is auto. First of all, let me show you, sorry. You see the summer camp is not populated. So that is something that we are going to solve now. Now, when I use the standard new button, right? Okay. When I use the standard new button, you will notice that in the URL, there is a question mark at the end after new. Right? Then there is the field name. So let me take you to my object. Here is the student object and here is that lookup field called summer camp. This is the name of the field. And then there is ID of that particular record. Correct? I mean the parent record. So what am I going to do here is, in order to auto-populate the summer camp or the parent record, I am going to add a question mark. You remember in the lightning quick action, we used this property, right? Default field values. I have just used the same thing. Equals key value. Key is the field name. Value is something that I got from here. I'll remove it. Insert merge field. Now, because this is on the summer camp object, I'm going to take its record ID. When I put that, it's like summer camp objects record, that particular current record that from where I'm clicking this button. Okay. And yeah, make sure that while you do this, the case, it's like case sensitive. So default field value, it's exactly in the same manner. There is the spacing is exactly in this manner. There is no space, by the way. And then there is question mark after new. Let me save it. Let me close this and refresh. Let me click here. This time again, we have the standard student creation page, but this time you see that summer camp is auto-populated. And in the URL, you see that field like we had in the standard new button and the ID of that particular summer camp from which I click this button. Now, the next thing is, again, here also you saw that it automatically redirected me to the new domestic student creation page, but I wanted to allow me to choose which record type I want. So for that, again, I'll go to the related list. I'll click on new, the standard new button. And when you do that, you will notice one attribute here called use record type check equal to 1. So we are going to use the same thing now in our URL. So now the URL is going to change slightly. Now we added a new attribute after the question mark, which is use record type check equal to 1. And then because I have other parameter also, I'm going to separate it using ampersand. So I used the ampersand and then the same old one for the default value population. Then just save. Let me refresh. This time when I click on this detail page button, you see, we are now navigated to choosing a record type. Now, let's say I want to create an international record. I would choose that. And then there is the new student international record creation page. So that's it about this video. So this is what we have learned. And if this video helped, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much.